So I've studied over 1,000 outlier YouTube videos in the business niche to crack the code on what actually works to scale businesses on YouTube, right? And what I've discovered will completely change the way you approach your content forever. So basically, most business owners, when they approach their content, they think, it needs to go viral or it needs to be entertaining. And then they lead to creating content that doesn't even convert, right? So they either believe you either have to get massive reach on your videos or get qualified clients and never both. And that's just completely wrong. So the outlier videos that I've actually analyzed weren't just getting, lots of views. They were the ones actually blowing up these people's businesses. And I'm talking about videos that single-handedly took a video and a company from struggling to generating six-figure months, right? And, after studying these ideas, these outliers for, months, right, I found the exact patterns that separate content that blows up businesses from those that, just get views. And I'll be honest, it has nothing to do with things like production value, clickbaity thumbnails, or trying to copy some entertainment creator. And it basically it's a specific psychological framework that 99% of business owners completely miss. In fact, when we started implementing these outlier patterns with our clients, their videos started to perform better. And we're booking in more calls on a monthly basis and, actually growing the channel consistently. So in this video, I'm going to break down everything I found, the exact content structures, psychological triggers, and business building strategies that turn random YouTube videos to business exploding machines, right? So let's jump in. Basically, before I go into everything, first let me explain what is an outlier on YouTube, right? So an outlier is essentially if you're getting 500 views per video and suddenly one gets, 50,000 and generates a whole bunch of leads, right? So it can be like a 1.5x outlier, 2x. If this is a 50,000, that's obviously a huge outlier, right? That's about 100x, which is not what, you normally get. The average, like what you would call an outlier, is a 2x plus. Here's what I've actually found from studying a whole bunch of outliers in the business niche. So every single outlier that I've saw basically followed what I call the business authority pattern. So unlike entertainment content that hooks with curiosity, business content that goes viral hooks with credibility. So essentially how you do this and how you actually create authority in your videos is immediately in the hook, right? So you have a bold, specific result claim. So you have to leave with concrete, measurable outcomes up front. So this is in your hook. You have to say case studies that you've done, and you actually have to mention the results you've gotten, right? So immediate credibility indicators indicate within the first 30 seconds. Then strategic information gaps, right? Build authority while maintaining engagement. So your hooks still need to actually hook in the viewer while providing authority. You need to have a good balance. And then proof delivery. You actually have to exceed expectations with concrete evidence. And then you have to show viewers exactly how to implement everything. Because there's no point in saying that you have a whole bunch of credibility, but then you don't actually prove it, right? So what I actually want to do here is open up some outliers that we've done for our clients and show you kind of how they work, right? So essentially, when you are creating outlier videos, most of the time you're following a proven title format, right? And that's what outlier theory kind of focuses on. So for this example, I'm going to use a video that we made for Kai, and Kai was one of our clients in the SEO niche. So essentially the title format was, I tried 100 SEO strategies, and we have a whole bunch of outliers we can use as examples here. I just think these are some good examples. So if we go into videos here and we sort by popular. So this is a video that we made for Kai. I tried 100 SEO strategies. Here's what's working right now in 2024. So this is an old video. And essentially what we did here is we led with curiosity, showing that he's, tried all these strategies, and then we didn't reveal which ones they are in the hook. Then we also, gave some credibility, right? So he's someone who's gotten results in the SEO niche, and we mentioned some of those results. And then essentially once we found that this video popped off for him, we created some videos that were similar title format. So essentially on YouTube, once you find a winning format, you stick with it and you keep going, right? So this was one that we did. And then basically we morphed this title bit to create one called I spent 15,000 on backlinks. Here's what I learned. So essentially it's once again saying I did a remarkable thing. Here's what happened, or here's what I learned, right? So it's using numbers in the title in that way. And we did another one here, right? Basically the same thing. It's literally just we swapped out money for the amount. So essentially we found that video title was performing well for him. And then another client that we have is Dennis. So at the same time, once you figure out the title format that's working, you basically just, use it across, this is what we do. We use it for different clients, right? So here's a video that worked specifically for Dennis. And basically this was after we saw the video performed well for Kai. So Dennis, he teaches people how to grow a B2B SaaS. And if you look once again, the most popular video is the exact same title format. It's I tried X amount of strategies. Here's what works in 2025. And this video went to get 6K views. And if you're someone who's not in the business niche, you're probably thinking, what, 6K? That's not a lot. But 6,000 people who are looking to grow their SaaS company, because who watches a video about SaaS if you're not really interested in growing your SaaS? The amount of calls booked he got from this was a lot, right? And the amount of clients he closed. So essentially, yeah, you find the winning title format. In your hook, you actually, validate the click. So obviously in the hook, we actually say, I've tried X amount. You basically repeat the title, lead with some credibility, and then that's what's going to keep people watching, right? The next thing we have here is the credibility stack method. And this is where most business creators fail. They think that one impressive stat is enough to build authority, and it's just not, right? Basically, what you need to do is outliers layered across the video, right? So not just once in the hook, you need to keep layering credibility as you go on, right? So as I said, ways you can do this is client results. So mentioning case studies or mentioning specific clients you've worked with in your videos. That's number one. Industry recognition, speaking engagements and awards, right? And then another thing here is quantified experience, years of experience with measurable outcomes. So if you have experience in the game, actually use this in your title, then reiterate it in your hook. Then throughout the video, reiterate how these strategies have been tested for X amount of years. And this is how you really emphasize over time that you are a true authority, right? Another way is social proof, testimonials from brands or clients you've worked with. You can even include those at the start of your videos sometimes. And then personal journey with documented proof, right? So yeah, you want to actually have proof of the things that you're saying and not just saying them. So yeah, this is something that you have to be doing. Then the next thing we have here is the blue ocean positioning strategy. So the videos that we've seen that actually tend to blow up in the business niche is when you create content that is positioned against common industry advice, right? Without directly naming competitors. And the reason this works is simply because when you are being contrarian, it just draws people in. They want to see what you have to say. And, obviously in your video, you need to then find a good balance of, not completely discrediting other people, but it's a good way to create attraction to your videos, right? So an example here is everyone tells you to cold email 100 prospects daily, and that's why most 99% of agencies struggle to hit 10K per month. Here's what actually works. So common strategy, say why it doesn't work, say what's the new method. This just tends to work, right? And then this is the structure that immediately differentiates them while positioning their approach as superior, right? So essentially what you do, as I said, you identify common advice, reference what everyone else says to do, you show the problem, explain why that advice fails, and then you present your solution, position your method as superior. So obviously this only works if you have some sense of authority. No one's going to listen to you if you've never done anything or you've never, gotten results for your clients. But if you're someone who has some level of authority, people are going to listen when you say that the common advice doesn't work. So all of these things need to stack together for you to actually have outlier videos. So the next thing here is the conversion integration system, right? So the biggest difference between viral business content and entertainment content is that every element serves the business funnel. So these videos didn't just get views, which is what makes them essentially an outlier on YouTube. But what they also do is they qualify prospects through the content itself. So you really want to make sure in your content that you are not just getting random outlier views, not just getting views from people who aren't, actually willing to work with you, but you're getting people that would actually, find your content something that would help them solve problems within their business. So something that you can say, and you can do this in your hooks, you can do this before your CTAs, or just randomly throughout your videos, something like, if you're spending more than 5K per month on ads out an ROS tracking system, and essentially what this does is it filters out the people who are not actually actively spending money on ads. So this is obviously for someone who sells paid ads as a service, and you want to work with people who are actually qualified. You need to be disqualifying people who would not be good fits and qualifying people through your content who would be good fits. Because what this does is it makes the person who wouldn't be a good fit obviously leave the video, which is fine because we don't want them booking a call anyway. Or it makes the person who is spending 5K per month on ads feel like they are actually being targeted more directly and that the viewer is actually getting spoken to, right, directly. So that's why you want to actually do that. So basically, as I said here, ask specific questions to identify ideal clients. Now, the next part here is the business thumbnail psychology. So business thumbnails follow completely different rules than entertainment thumbnails, right? So basically, instead of bright colors and shocked expressions, the highest performing thumbnails are based on this. So results screenshot that's showing partial dashboard views or metrics. right? This can be Stripe, whatever it is. Professional authority, confident and competent facial expressions. Don't do the Mr. Beast crazy face looking shocked. That doesn't work. Process reviews, behind the scenes glimpses of systems. So this is why Miro board thumbnails perform a lot of the time, right? And it's because they seem like they are behind the scenes. They seem like they are proprietary elements. Meanwhile, it's just a Miro board. Transformation indicators before and after business metrics. So revenue before, revenue after, ROI before, ROI after, etc. And as I said before, contrarian statements, basically challenging conventional business wisdom. And the psychology is different because, as I said, business decision makers aren't looking for entertainment. They're looking for competence and results in milliseconds. And if you can't actually convince someone within milliseconds that you are competent and that you are someone worth listening to, people aren't going to click on your videos, right? And that's pretty much what you need to do there. And in terms of optimizing your thumbnails, mobile viewing is at 70% of the moment. And this is particularly for businesses, how it happens. So essentially, your thumbnail and title need to communicate value and credibility instantly, as I said, even right at the start. So basically, all these outliers that I studied passed the test, which is basically called the executive scroll test, right? And this is, for example, if a busy CEO scrolling LinkedIn on their phone can immediately understand what you're offering and why it matters, you've got a winner, right? So that's the complete framework behind creating viral business content. It's the psychology patterns, the authority building strategies, and the conversion optimization that turns viewers into actual clients, right? So if you implement just one of these things, you'll see improvement in, number one, your view counts, but also your lead quality within 30 days, right? So the key thing here is if you want to create viral business content, it's not just about views. It's not just about, entertainment. It's about strategically authority building your brand and attracting qualified prospects while demonstrating expertise. But here's the reality of this whole thing, right? You can understand how all of this works and still struggle with execution because most business owners get stuck on these three things because they don't know what specific content to create for different funnel stages. They can't craft hooks and titles that actually attract their ideal prospects, and they have no idea how to convert YouTube viewers into actual sales calls. And this is exactly why we built our done-for-you YouTube lead generation system. So we implement these outlier strategies for your videos while you focus on running your business, and then we guarantee contractually an extra 10 to 30 qualified calls per month, right? So if you want to see how we can build this YouTube funnel system for your business, and you want to see if you are actually qualified to work with us, just click the first link in the description and book in a free strategy call. Also check out the video that's on the screen right now to learn our full YouTube content system and how it works, right? So thanks for watching. Check out the other videos on the channel if you're a business owner, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.